Hi everybody, I want to share with you my personal trick to simulate an arcade spinner with a USB volume controller. It's a simple, cheap, maybe the cheapest solution, which allows us to play Arkanoid style games in a quite realistic way, thanks to Mame emulator. So what about this volume controller? It's a little USB device, just like this, with a knob that increases or decreases volume when you rotate it. So let me repeat, this is not an arcade spinner, it's just another device whose main function is to change the volume of the system, but we will override this standard behavior. You can use the model you want. I personally bought this model here, and the movement of this model is not continuous. I mean, it has 32 fixed positions, and you cannot throw it just like the normal spinner. But I can assure you that the experience of the game is fun anyway. It also comes with an integrated button for muting and unmuting, but we don't need it now. The first step is to configure our game in order to play with standard physical mouse, because as you should know, by default mouse is disabled. Let's see it. Okay, it's disabled. And in order to do things quickly, I'm going to manually edit the auto-generated configuration file for our game, which is this one. And we search for mouse, and we enable with one multi-mouse. Okay, we can change it. We can change all of this just to be sure. Okay. And no, that's important. We have to set mouse provider to Win32. Otherwise, our trick will not work. We can try it, and it should work. Okay, I control it with mouse. And if I move the knob, of course, the standard behavior still works. So, how can we play Arkanoid with our little device? Thanks to AutoHotKey. If you don't know it, let's hear. AutoHotKey is a free scripting language for Windows that allows users to easily create small to complex scripts for all kinds of tasks. One of the things we can do with AutoHotKey, for example, is catch or generate system events and create subroutines to manage them. And that's exactly what we are going to do. Let's minimize it. I already installed AutoHotKey in my system, so when you install it, you can create a normal text file, my script, with the extension AHK, and we can create our first script. Just a little example, if you don't know how it works, you can say, when I press F1, just say me hello with a tooltip. Okay. If we double click on it, this indicates that our script is up and running. And I hope if I press F1, yes. This indicates that the script works as we expected. So what we have to do now is to override the events generated by the knob. But we need to know the names of these events. How can we do it? Once again, AutoHotKey can help us, because I found a script, this one, which is very useful for what we need. Because if we launch it and we reload the script, I move the knob one to the right and one to the left. If we see here and click here, the key history, which is here. Here are the name of our events, volume up and volume down. If we see closer, we can see that a pair of events are generated. One with the status D, which stands for down, pressed, and one with U. That's all we need. We're going to change our script. For example, to ignore events, we'll return volume up, which means release, and the same thing is for volume down events. Let's try it. If I move the knob, nothing happens. If we have a larger movement, this warning comes out because of the max hotkeys per interval. That means that we received too much events for an interval time. Max hotkeys per interval. And we can increase this value so the warnings never comes out. I think that 2000 is enough. Another important function is set key delay, which allows us to prevent to have delay when we move the knob. So we can say, I already know that we have to set it to -1 and -1. Let's repeat it. Okay. Okay. No more warnings. And if we suspend the hotkeys, the standard behavior still works. So, it's easy now. We simply have to override these events in order to make the mouse move. And that's what we are going to do, because AutoHotKey has a mouse move built-in function which exactly moves the mouse cursor. We have to provide the coordinates if we want the speed and relative parameter, which indicates that if our coordinates are related to the current mouse position or they are absolute. Instead of using the relative parameter, I found that by specifying absolute positions, the answer is better. We are going to use also the get mouse position, mouse get pos. Okay, so we can retrieve the current mouse position. We're going to change it and we're going to set it with mouse move. We can try it. So we can say, for example, volume up, get mouse position, pixels to move is 5 pixels for 5. And then we can say mouse move expose 2 pixels to move, and mouse move expose epsilon pose. Just a little style, and we can set a constant value global pixels to move, which is 5 pixels. And we can say, we can call it pixels for events. Okay, same thing for volume down. But we have to go to the left. So let's try it. Yes, it works. Since volume up and volume down script is quite the same except for direction, we can centralize it by introducing a set direction function. And we can say all this stuff. We can call set direction with parameters 1, which indicates right, and we can call set direction with parameters -1 for the left, and set direction does the same, but we need to multiply this one with a new direction. If we move to the right, we have 1, and pixels to move is positive, otherwise it's negative. Let's try. Okay. Let's see in the game. Yes, it works, but it's slow and needs some payable, because if we need larger movements, we don't have it. For this, Mame can help us with this option here, dial sensitivity, which has a range from 0 to 255. We can set it to the half, which basically is a multiplier, because we said, okay, move, let's move a 5 pixel, but what does it mean, move 5 pixel? And this is a kind of multiplier of the speed. This is better, but still slow. Let's try it. Better, but still slow. We need to improve our script. My idea is, if we have a global time interval of 10 milliseconds, how many events in time interval we have? Because more events we have, more movements we want. So we can define also a so-called timer. We can call it move timer, which is a subroutine that is activated every time interval milliseconds. What does this subroutine do? The same as before. We're going to move the mouse, but this time we're going to multiply this for the number of events we received. Okay, of course, we have to now set this one, which is always 0 at the moment, and we say every time we have a movement, just increase it. And we have to use this direction, which becomes a global variable. 0 is stopped. -1 left, 1 right. And as before, every time we have a movement, we can say that global direction is new direction, our parameter. And when we computed the pixels to move, we have to reset it because we already managed them. Okay, let's try it. Oh yes, set timer wants the percentage as parameter. Let's try it. that doesn't work. Why? So we increase this, we set this, and direction. I forgot it. Okay, it works now. Let's see in the game. Yes, it's very realistic now. As you can see, we can move it with larger movements if we need them. Okay. So the script now works, but we can improve a couple of situations. The first is, every time we change the direction, we need to reset the counter of events. Otherwise, we manage events related to an old direction. It's easy to do, because it's enough to say if direction that's it. Okay, let's try it on Windows. It still works. The second improvement is timer continues to make computation here, even if we don't need it. For example, when the mouse is not moving, why we have to spend time to compute all of this stuff? How can we detect if it's not moving? We can say, for example, that if we don't receive events for a while, we can consider it stopped. We can use the AutoHotKey built-in function, which returns the number of milliseconds elapsed since the system was started. So we can have a global move millisecond and every time we have a movement, we assign it to a tick count. Okay. And in move timer, we can define a stop millisecond of 200 millisecond to force stop movement. And in move timer, we can say, okay, act millisecond is a tick count. Difference is act millisecond minus move millisecond. And we can say if diff more than stop millisecond. So we can say that direction is 0. Stop. Otherwise, we can do everything with the styling. And we can say if direction is not 0, just do everything. Okay, let's see if it still works. Okay, it seems to work. Let's see it in the game. Yeah. The last improvement is, in order to have a smoother movement, we can use a kind of deceleration in the interval between our last movement and our 200 milliseconds. We can make the values move for a couple of pixels. We can change it like this. pixels to move. We can say that if difference is greater than 100, without constant for the moment, we can see pixels to move 2 pixels to our direction, and pixels to move. Okay, let's try it. Okay, it has a kind of deceleration when it stops, which makes the movement a little smoother. Okay. Another great functionality of AutoHotKey is that you can embed your script into a standalone executable file. So you can, for example, launch your script from a batch file even if you don't have AutoHotKey installed. So we need AutoHotKey2X. This one. We can download it. Yeah. Okay, if we execute it, that's another script. And if we drag and drop this and convert, we have now our executable file, so we can execute it by a simple double click, and we have our script running. We can now just uninstall AutoHotKey and our script will work again. Here we are, guys. I hope anyone can find it useful like me, and let me know if you find any improvements on the script, which can improve the experience too, so we can share it with the whole community. Bye bye!